This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, along with Sean Anderson.
Dub them easy. Wait, no, wrong podcast. What podcast is this? What year is it?
This is a primetime podcast. The one that you've been on this side of the table for the last 4 or so weeks.
And that's the thing is, I think last week I told them you don't have to deal with me, and unfortunately I'm back.
You're back.
I don't know what to say because I obviously dub them ease when I fill in for Mark. Brandon's no longer on this podcast, so I don't have to say what he said.
Hey.
Oh, that's what he said.
We need a catchphrase for Sean Anderson.
I think I'll just ramble. I think that is my catchphrase. It's just me rambling moronically.
What, Dave's is "How's it going"? Is that what Dave usually says when he says something? Is Dave Oster, "How's it going"?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then I'm "What's up," of course. But welcome into the Primetime Podcast right here on Most Valuable Podcasts. Like we just said, for the past month or so with an intermittent episode, you had Sean and Dave holding the ship as I took a vacay to my basement, basically, and was basically like, I guess I'm not doing a podcast for a month.
You got a day off. You got 4 days off. That's what you are allowed.
It was nice.
A 4-day allowance.
It was nice, but it felt like something was missing. You know, like you do something for so long, and then you take it away, and you're like, I feel like I should be doing something right now, but I'm not doing anything, and I'm just kind of bumming watching TV.
I mean, the one thing too, though, you didn't fight us on it. Like, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
You weren't really like, I need to come back. So
no, I didn't.
It seemed like you enjoyed it a little bit.
If you're gonna give me a month off, I'll take the month off. I'm not gonna fight you. Plus, I was here every other day. But welcome into the Primetime Podcast. College sports, college basketball, college football, but really at this point, like we're 10 days away, 9 days away from the NBA draft. Is it the 20th or the 21st?
20th. 8
Today's
days away.
The 12th, not the 11th. So 8 days away from the NBA draft. So really what's going to happen today is it's going to be...
It's just a supplement to the Fast Break Podcast.
Basically, yeah.
It's just Fast Break Podcast 2.
Because, we've got our mock draft coming out this Saturday. We'll be live on Twitch, twitch.tv/MostValuable Podcast. This Saturday, did we lock down a time yet for when we're going to do that, or do we got to talk to Dave?
I have to be at work, so I could probably do it at night.
Okay.
You guys want to do that like 7?
Works for me. So we'll plan for 7 o'clock. Follow at Most Valuable Pod for any updates if we change the time with Sean coming from work. But we've got the mock draft for the fast break. So I thought for this one, we'd talk a little bit about the NBA and then, of course, Quentin Grimes. So we're going to do it right in order of like I sent you guys because this was a weird one. We're going to talk about the Anthony Davis trade. Will he be traded by draft night? Then we're going to take a look at Jarrett Culver because there's kind of some rumors that the Lakers are really impressed with him after his workout with the LA Lakers. And then we're going to end things with Quentin Grimes. Should he pick the Houston Cougars? Should he pick the Texas A&M Aggies? Because he is transferring from the University of Kansas. Before we get into everything, though, make sure to check us out on patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast. That's where you help support us, help us get out of. We love Pete, who's been on the WWE podcast, but we want to do more things. We want a bigger room. That's how you help support us and help us get to that goal, patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast. But let's start, Sean, and you said before the podcast, you're getting sick of shit. You're getting sick of things, especially when it comes to like the AD trade where it's you're on the side of like, just trade him. I don't care where he goes. Just trade him so I can talk about it.
It's pretty similar to what I was feeling with the Kawhi Leonard stuff. It was similar even to what I was feeling with the LeBron James free agency sweepstakes. It was what I was feeling with the Kevin Durant sweepstakes as well before he signed with Golden State originally. I'm just kind of over rumors. I used to love trades. I used to love free agency. I used to love the whole, what's going to happen and all that. But now it's just kind of gotten old and stale because we have this, 4-month long buildup from when AD announced that he wants to trade out of New Orleans and around that February, January mark. And it's just been 4 months of nothing. Like, we haven't gotten close. There hasn't been a deal that, was, in the final hours or anything like that. It's just been, kind of sitting around and just rumors flying about. Like, I want something to be happening. And it doesn't feel like anything's happening. And now more rumors are coming out today about Los Angeles and Boston are getting, more heavily involved in trades. It's just like, we've known he's been, available since February or since January. Why hasn't a deal been done closer? You've been sitting. Boston's been out of the playoffs for months now. For a month now. Lakers have been out of it for 2 months now. They've already fired their head coach. They dealt with all the Magic Johnson stuff. Like, why wasn't this already being worked towards? Why weren't rumors even being done closer? Now we're getting just all these things like, oh, Lakers don't want to deal with Kyle Kuzma or don't want to give up Kyle Kuzma in a deal. Like, why is this now just being figured out 9 days or 8 days before the NBA draft?
I feel like it's a combination of things. Where one, when it comes to Boston, they can't make a deal until after July 1st.
You could still get a deal in place, and you can have a better roadmap of where you're going to go. Because if you can agree on a deal, if you're working on a deal on June 12th and you get it agreed upon on June 19th, why couldn't you have done that in May?
I think it's all on Dell Demps, and that's me personally. Where it's like,
but he was fired long before this.
I know that, but it's like with me, it was first off Dell Demps, but there was also a lengthy SI article or cover story today that apparently Rich Paul told SI that basically Dell Demps made him go public. And the exact quote I have here is, according to Paul, on his hand was forced with Pelicans GM Dell Demps. It was necessary to go public. When I told you, here's our intentions, and you said, hey, let me talk to ownership, and instead you talking to ownership, you call Anthony Davis, that's called being ignored. And trying to get between a player and his agent, that's a no-no, Paul says. Every GM knows that. And like when Griffin was coming in, there's going to be a grace period of like, hey, let me get my bearings here and not make a move too quick. The question is now for me, I feel like I don't know if we're going to see a deal on draft night, because obviously if Boston is in the sweepstakes, they can't until after July 1st. But I'll ask you this. If you're the Boston Celtics, we'll start with them before we look at the Lakers and other choices. Do you even want to, part of me goes, do you even want to trade for AD? Because apparently Rich Paul has also said, according to Bleacher Report, the Celtics can trade for him.
But that was the same SI thing.
It'll be a 1-year rental. In the event that he decides to walk away and give away assets, don't blame Rich Paul.
I don't want to give Bleacher Report any credit. All they do is just take people's actual reporting and then just post it on the website. Yeah, it's straight from that SI article. So if you want to actually hear what Rich Paul says, go support SI.
So do you think that, because basically that is basically him telling the Celtics it's going to be a Kawhi Leonard situation, or what we think could be a Kawhi Leonard situation?
I think it's just more, again, an agent trying to get his player in where he wants to be. It doesn't mean that Anthony Davis has 0% chance of signing with Boston. He still has to, if he is traded to Boston, play a year in that city and for that team. And that could, change up Anthony Davis' mind. And again, at the end of the day, Rich Paul works for Anthony Davis. Yeah. So we don't know what will happen a year from now if that deal is done. Right now, he's just trying to make sure that he does what his job is to do, is get the best for what his player wants, and his player wants to be in LA. He's trying to do that. He's trying to just make sure all those doors are closed. So he's trying to get him either in a Laker uniform or in a Clipper uniform, and most preferably for Rich Paul and Anthony Davis, most likely in a Laker uniform so they could be with the other big Rich Paul client in LeBron James. So I don't think it's anything that, there's zero chance the Celtics will have Anthony Davis a year from now, because I think that's way too in front of us to even realize. First, he has to be on that team. First, they have to re-sign Kyrie Irving then too as well. Then they have to build a team around them. They have to win games, and if they win games, I think it'd be hard for him to leave. So right now, I'm not going to say there's zero chance that Anthony Davis, if he's traded to Boston, that he doesn't re-sign, because again, Rich Paul could say all that stuff, but he has his client's best interest in his mind, in his mind. And he's just trying to do everything that Anthony Davis wants him to do.
With me, I wonder when it comes to the Pelicans, which first off, I was very heavily, when we talked about it before, I believe it was you were on the side of like, hey, I think he's going to go to the Lakers. I was very much of like, hey, he's going to get traded to the Knicks. The Knicks are going to bring him in to be with Kyrie and KD. Obviously now the Kyrie stuff is changing, where now it looks like he could sign with Brooklyn. Obviously, what happened to KD in Game 5.
Yeah.
people are looking at that like, oh, well, he can now sign with the Warriors and kind of like the sky is falling in New York. I'm kind of shifting my opinion to where I'm like, if I'm the Knicks, I'm not giving. After that KD injury, I'm like, oh, do I really want to give up because the Knicks would have to almost give up everything they have.
And there's rumors coming out that the Pelicans aren't even interested in what the Knicks have. So that might even be a moot point there. And now if that's the truth, that the Pelicans don't want to deal with the Knicks, well, then that takes off AD off the table. You already have KD off the table, and you're not just going to bring in Kyrie. So unless they shift their focus to try to bring in a Jimmy Butler if he doesn't sign with Philadelphia, if they try to go after Kawhi Leonard, that's definitely going to be something that's going to be on the table. But again, I was always a proponent of KD is not going to go to the Knicks. I think this injury kind of seals that fate because I think he'd be kind of missing out on an opportunity just to take that player option for the Warriors, make sure that he gets that money, that $32 million, and then just hit free agency after that. I think that's most likely going to be his plan. So we're probably going to see KD return to the Warriors. So in a very pseudo fucked up way, I am right that KD's returning to the Warriors. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish he actually re-signed and was healthy.
I mean, that
would be the best case. But
there are people out there that have been like he should decline the player op. And that the Warriors should give him a max contract. I've heard that, and I was
but here's the thing: is like if they do that, the Warriors aren't going to be stupid. You're getting Kevin Durant for the long term.
Yeah,
this is again about what Kevin Durant wants.
And
Kevin
it would
Durant
basically
wanted to
be choosing KD over Draymond because Draymond would then have to walk next year. You wouldn't have enough.
Who wouldn't do that?
No, I'm not saying they wouldn't. I'm just saying that's what it would be.
Yeah, but I think that's again, you would take Kevin Durant even if he's coming off an Achilles injury, which is one of the worst injuries to have as a basketball player. I would still take Kevin Durant, over Draymond Green, and that's not even a question. But again, going back to the question of Anthony Davis, I think it kind of clears the way for the two big teams in Boston and Los Angeles, and I think Rich Paul realizes that with the KD injury, and I don't know if Kyrie and Boston have the best relationship, but that can be repaired, I think, fairly easily, again, if you're winning and if you're bringing a superstar like Anthony Davis alongside of him. And a plus side to Boston is, they already have a little bit of a relationship, although it might not be great. They can at least keep Kyrie, close to the chest, and they will have the ability to, negotiate with him. And I don't think Kyrie's going to, tune them out completely. And I think that's going to really be predicated on, if they're able to sign Anthony Davis. And I think the biggest sign too that deal is still possible for Boston is the fact that Kyrie did leave his longtime agent, but then signed with Rock Sports. He didn't go out and sign with Rich Paul. If he signed with Rich Paul, Laker train, baby. But that kind of leaves the door open still for Boston. So I think we're kind of down looking at two teams in the Lakers and Boston. But with that being said, I still always think there's dark horses.
Yeah.
Because with Paul George, it was the Lakers. He goes to the Thunder.
I think in this case, it's the Clippers and the Nets. Like, the Nets are my true dark horse for AD.
But I don't think they have enough to offer him. And that's the same with the Clippers. The Clippers, there's reports that they don't want to give up Shai Gilgeous. And if they're not giving up Shai Gilgeous, there's not a deal to be had.
Well, and that's the third thing of this. Because there's also, this was reported well before the weekend, or even, I want to say, start of the weekend, is basically the Pelicans are more interested in a 3-team deal, where what they want is, so they want to basically, for example, I'll use the Lakers. Use a third team because, hey, if I'm not sold on what the Lakers are giving me, like let's say I don't want Lonzo Ball, I don't have to take Lonzo. The third team can take Lonzo, and it also depends on what the Pelicans are getting. Apparently, they're looking at it in, they want if they get an all-star player, they don't need a ton of picks. If they don't get that and get a ton of young players, they're going to want picks. So for me, I was even trying to think of who could even be that third team, and the only ones I can think of are the Cavs, because they want to move, they want to get they want to get more first-round capital for themselves, and also they want to try to move Kevin Love. I don't know if that happens in this deal, but also like the Phoenix Suns could be involved, a Memphis Grizzlies could be involved. Like there could be other teams involved in this deal. It's just finding that third menage a trois dance partner for it.
And again, this is where we're just left with rumors. We don't really have anything unless somebody actually goes out there and starts putting their neck on the table. And again, we're just left for rumors to start building and brewing until we get a clear vision on this. We can all speculate, whatever we think. Suns make logical sense because, let's say the Pelicans aren't interested in Lonzo. They need a point guard. The Suns do. They have picks. They have young players that could be, interesting to the Pelicans, and they can get a point guard that could play next to, Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, which is, their two big key pieces in their future. You bring up Cleveland. Yes, they have a former All-Star in Kevin Love, but I don't know how much he interests these teams because of his injury history and just because of his contract as well. It's not like you're getting, him on like an 8-year deal, but you have to deal with these injuries. You have to deal with his big contract and these injuries, which will then, limit moves later down on the road. But if he's going to New Orleans, then I don't know how that really affects it because they don't really have a lot of cap tied up outside of Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
So with that, I think you just have to look at like the straight up dark horses, and I don't think the Nets are a dark horse. If we're being frank,
you're talking like from what I've seen, there has been chatter from Hawks Nation that we got the draft capital. The Hawks could make a move.
I don't think the Nets are a dark horse. I want to at least clear why I don't think they are. I don't think the Nets are a dark horse because you have to tender D'Lo before you even are able to move him, and if you're going to get a deal done, you have to do that. So I think that's just going to put the Nets at a disadvantage because right now the Celtics and Lakers are already talking with the Pelicans, and the Nets can't really start doing that officially until they sign D'Angelo Russell.
And
there's no guarantee.
Going to take meetings with other teams.
Yeah, there's no guarantee as well because he is a restricted free agent. What his contract can actually be.
Yeah.
If they throw out all the money in the world and max him out, then he'll probably most likely accept that. But then that's going to be more difficult to trade him because D'Angelo Russell, while he was fantastic last year, that was 1 year. It doesn't mean he automatically deserves a max contract. Now, if they end up paying him the max contract, I wouldn't hate it because he is still young, was just off of a phenomenal performance. But that's because he's staying in Brooklyn. If he goes to a different place, I don't know how he'd perform. Or if he'd perform to that level, worthy of a max. So that kind of takes Brooklyn off the table for me because you have to wait until July 1st for anything to really be clear for them. And again, with the Clippers, I think a deal's predicated on Shai Gilgeous. I don't think they want to give up Shai Gilgeous. And really, if you're taking out Shai Gilgeous from that, you're just left with Jerome Robinson, Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, and then that 2021 Miami Heat pick. And that's not enough for Anthony Davis.
The thing that I think of, too, is why would you want to give up Shai when you're probably most likely going to lose Pat Bev in free agency this year?
Yeah, I mean, and why would you want to just give up Shai in general? I mean, obviously, if you're getting Shai for Anthony Davis, that makes sense, but you're not just giving up only Shai. And we saw what Shai could do last year, and his size, his passing ability, his defense, I think it's fantastic. And we saw what this team was able to do without a superstar. They were the 8th seed. If they're able to at least, replenish that team and, get once Danilo Gallinari's contract's up and they still have the ability to sign Kawhi Leonard, this team could still be really interesting without adding Anthony Davis and depleting their roster. So I don't think it makes sense for the Clippers. The two teams that I thought of, and these are really iffy teams on if he will re-sign there, and that's why they're true dark horses, and that's why you bring in the Toronto stuff. The Denver Nuggets and the Indiana Pacers. Denver can offer either Gary Harris and Jamal Murray, two guys that have all-star potential, more Murray for all-star potential. They also have Malik Beasley, Torrey Craig, some of these younger bench roles that we kind of see come up as well. And they have a big contract in Paul Millsap. If they're able to attach that to an Anthony Davis deal, they don't have to worry about playing Millsap and Jokic and Davis together. They can just really worry about Davis and Jokic, which would be a fantastic pairing. And you'd be lacking and losing one of your guards in either Harris or Murray. And you could also attach Michael Porter Jr. as well, who's a very interesting young piece. The biggest question for him is injuries. But even if you're losing those guards, you already have Nikola Jokic, who's already averaging like 8 assists a game. You have Anthony Davis. That's enough firepower there. And then with the Pacers, they can offer picks, and I think you could look at that 18th pick, you could look at that 2021 pick, that 2023 pick as possible, unprotected first. And if they did want to move Miles Turner to get Anthony Davis, now this is just complete speculation because I'm literally stretching to get this. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying this is a fair trade at all. I'm stretching to find a dark horse.
Outside the box that is not the Lakers and it's not the Celtics.
Exactly. Or even the Nets and the Clippers, because these teams have been talked about, or the Knicks. The Hawks even, too. We've talked about them already. If they're giving everything, the 8, the 10, the 17, and some young players, then I think they could definitely be a player for Anthony Davis. It's just, do they want to do that with the timeline that they're on? And really, if they're not able to win right away in the first year, then what's the reason Anthony Davis is staying? So that's the reason why Atlanta's super iffy. But with the Pacers, if they're giving up Turner, if they're giving up Aaron Holiday, if they're giving up TJ Leaf and those 3 first-round picks, and he's able to play next to Victor Oladipo, who's hopefully going to come back healthy, they get Anthony Davis, they're able to re-sign Bojan Bogdanovic for a 1-year deal, and they're able to put together a somewhat big 3, or at least a big 2 of Victor Oladipo and Anthony Davis, and then supplant that with Bojan Bogdanovic, who's a fantastic starter and role player, with a guy like Sabonis, who's a great gritty rebounder and could really provide grit offensively and defensively. They have some interesting players that they'll have to re-sign as well. Thad Young, part of that team as well. They could always move him to address the guard issues that they have. They'll be getting rid of Aaron Holiday. Collinson's going to be a free agent. Corey Joseph's going to be a free agent. So they might have to be creative in finding a guard there. But I think the Pacers could definitely be interesting, because if the Celtics aren't able to get Anthony Davis, that most likely means they're not keeping Kyrie Irving. So Boston's not out of the Eastern Conference race, but that's definitely going to hurt their chances. If Kawhi leaves Toronto, that's extremely going to hurt their chances of winning the East. That really leaves the 76ers, and the other team that was up there was the Indiana Pacers, and that was without Victor Oladipo. So if you're having Victor Oladipo, Anthony Davis, and Bojan and Sabonis, that's a really good starting 4, and then you're going to have to obviously add a guard at some point. But I think that could be a team that could be very interesting in that Eastern Conference, and that could be a reason why Indiana makes that move, because, hey, if you could show them that you could win, I know Indiana's not this big market, but if you could show them that you could win, you might be able to re-sign him if he does like it there. I don't know if it's a smart plan. I don't think they should do it, just because it's going to be a real huge gamble for them.
Well,
but
plus,
if they feel
if they feel
they could,
Vic and him coming back from the injury too.
Yeah, but if they feel like that could open a window for them and close windows as well for other teams, like Boston specifically, they might entertain it. But I'm just trying to stretch to find any trade partners out there, because it's really just looking like a Boston and Los Angeles race.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, the teams that I look at, and I'm not even going to come up with trades because I don't even know where to start with them. I would love to say, like, my heart of hearts, that, the Bulls could be a dark horse, but no.
He's not signing with them.
Well, no, I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, like, even for a 1-year rental, but we'd have to give up way too much to get him.
And why would you what's the point of the Bulls getting a 1-year rental?
Well, I mean, if the price, if we could swindle, then yeah, he'd be great with this core, but we'd have to give up way too much to get him. So, like, that's why I say I'd love, like, with that storyline to be able to say, yeah, we're dark horses. The only one that I kind of sit on that's not Boston, not LA, or not New York is Houston. Because Houston is a team that has already said, hey, we're going to be active trying to trade our guys. I came out on our NBA draft predictions and said that Clint Capella is getting moved on draft night, whether that's right or wrong. We'll see. If they were able to, let's say, move Capella, I would even move, I'd be fine moving PJ Tucker if I'm getting Anthony Davis. The only thing with that is, if I'm the Pelicans, I need those draft picks, and I don't necessarily want Houston's draft picks.
Why not?
Because they're later on.
Why wouldn't you want if we go back to pre-Jimmy Butler and Philadelphia days, they were willing to offer you 4 first-rounders all unprotected. And if you're looking at that team and their makeup, there's no guarantee that Anthony Davis signs there.
True.
There's no guarantee that Chris Paul stays healthy, and he's handicapping that team with that contract.
And they're trying to trade him anyways.
Yeah. So, I mean, if Houston does that, they're taking a gamble. And you're taking a gamble too, but there's a possibility that Houston is just horrible. And you're not also just getting 4 straight years back to back to back to back. You're getting them spaced out.
Yeah.
So if they give you the 2020, they give you they can't do the 2020 because they traded their first this year. So if they give you the 2021, the 2023, the 2025, and 2027, we don't know what that team's going to be like in 8 years. You can get the number 1 overall pick. Just look at what the Celtics did.
I'd think about it.
It's definitely not going to be as bad as a KG Ray Allen stuff.
Not,
or Paul Pierce.
Clint Capella's not terrible. It's just the only reason why he got run off the floor in the playoffs is because he couldn't be an outside presence. Like, with him being more of that inside center, it was like, well, we need guys who can defend the outside, who can play outside. So, we got to sit Capella.
I mean, he's still a top 10 center. I just think that, Houston is an interesting one. I just think that if you look at the Kawhi stuff, Toronto was a dark horse. If you look at the Paul George stuff, Oklahoma City was a complete dark horse, and I wasn't really thinking that they were going to make a move for him for the Victor Oladipo Sabonis thing, and then they were even a dark horse even just to re-sign him.
Yeah.
LeBron wasn't a dark horse. We kind of all knew he had interest in LA. But it feels like there's always some dark horse that comes out and gets these players. So I think we actually have to look a little bit deeper to try to find some of it, because we weren't talking about Toronto at all for that Kawhi stuff. So weren't. I think we have to try to see how players can be, or how teams can become desperate and figure things out.
Your Denver one would basically be like the Raptors of the West then. Like, hey, we're going to take a stab on AD if he goes at the end of the year. If we get a finals, it's worth it.
It's more tricky, though, because the Raptors knew that this was probably their last year, no matter what. And if they re-sign Kawhi, things change.
Where the Nuggets are still young.
Yeah, the Nuggets are still young. Yeah. Exactly. It's still a very young core where Jamal Murray is still under 25. Jokic is, I think, closing in on 25. Gary Harris is around that age, too. And this is your first year that you just made the playoffs, where the Raptors have been on the door of the Eastern Conference Finals year after year after year. So I think that's the biggest question for me. But if we're talking mostly how it can affect the draft and transitioning to that with the Lakers, if they make that deal and the fourth pick's involved in it, how do you think that changes the Pelicans' draft strategy exactly?
I'm taking Cam Reddish. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, because obviously they're going Zion number one.
Yeah. Well, and because my whole thing was, if they were going to make a trade with the Knicks, they're getting the third pick. They're going to go with RJ
Do you want to start with them? Just so we can go 3-4 and then how it changes. Yeah. So if they make a deal with Knicks for some reason, they get the third overall pick, they get RJ. We obviously know how Zion and RJ works, and Dave and I already talked about that. I think it could be definitely interesting. I don't know if it'd be a great pairing, just because we saw how it worked, and they weren't like perfect together, but they have great chemistry, which is huge. Yeah. And if RJ is able to grow into a little bit more of a playmaker, and he's able to be more dangerous from the outside, and pairing that with Zion's inside game, then shit. I mean, you got a pairing for the future without a doubt. So I mean, that would probably be my favorite pairing, just because you get the two best friends or two buds back together, and that would be fun to see. How many times do you get to see those, that type of reunion where you have two great players from the same college play together on the same NBA team? That probably rarely, if ever, happened. But yeah, that'd be something that I would definitely love to see. But if they go 4, why are you taking Cam Reddish if they make a deal with the Lakers?
Because I'm already looking at their lineup per se, and I mean, what we could do is, so you've got Drew Holiday, Zion's going to be in the starting lineup. I think that with Cam Reddish, the thing I really like about him is, I mean, with his production aside, he's got the tools, and he's a really good defensive player, to where it's almost like a more, I don't even want to say more raw version of DeAndre Hunter. It's just, he's a younger version of DeAndre Hunter with a higher ceiling, if that makes any sense. So, like, for me, that's where I would take the stab and take him over Culver, because with the only guard I would think about in this draft is either Darius Garland or Kobe White. But like, Darius Garland would be a guy, now if we're talking the Laker pick, maybe you go there to pair Garland and Drew Holiday up, move Holiday back to the 2 like he was when he played with Rondo.
Hold on, what? You were talking about the Lakers? What?
I moved into the Laker pick. So, like, 3, I'd go Cam.
For sure. You're talking about
Laker pick, I'd go with Drew, with
Darius
so if you're
Garland.
At
3, you'd go Cam over RJ?
At 3, I would go RJ. 4, I would go Cam. I said
so
3.
Where's the 4. Garland stuff coming in?
At 4. So if the Lakers made the trade and I get the 4th instead of the 3rd, no, I'm fucking that up.
Yeah, you're completely confusing. You're saying you take 2 players at 4.
Yeah, I'm confusing it. 4.
I'm taking Cam Reddish and Garland.
Cam
at 4.
Reddish at 4. And then basically RJ at 3. I was mixing it up and thinking there was a team in between them.
Yeah, no, it's...
Sean's looking at me like, Ricky, what's going on here,
If they get the 3rd pick, we're in agreement that they're going RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
If they're go with the 4th pick and they make a deal with the Lakers, you're saying they should go Cam Reddish over Darius Garland.
That's what I'm leaning towards,
Okay.
yeah.
I disagree. I would go with either Culver or Garland. I would lean towards Garland, and you kind of laid it out a little bit. Not only is Drew more of a natural 2 and he plays great defense, but the biggest thing that I would love is you get Drew in that natural position. He's already a great outside shooter, and he can still distribute the ball from that position. And Garland has such a quick, lightning, fast three-point shot, and his biggest deficiencies is defensively. So if you're pairing him with a defensively great guard, that's going to make his job easier. And if you give Garland a guy like Zion, who is so energetic and can start fast breaks on himself, that's going to give him open shots, and Garland can get open looks from the outside. And I think that Garland needs to be in a system that works best with space and with some quickness to it. And I think if he goes and plays next to Zion and plays next to Drew Holiday, and obviously it's going to depend on who else they get in that trade, because I don't think it's just going to be the 4th overall pick. But let's say they play with Kyle Kuzma as well. Let's say Kuzma's in the deal with the Lakers. Kuzma can run. Kuzma can shoot, and I think that would be a fantastic pairing with them. And I know the rumors are coming out that the Lakers don't want to trade Kuzma. Again, just playing what ifs. If Ingram's a part of that deal, then I think it's definitely going to change my minds a little bit because of Ingram's ability to kind of be a facilitator. And if he needs to be a facilitator to be his most effective player, obviously you want to take that into advantage more than that 4th pick, because Ingram was the 2nd overall pick fairly recently in a very good draft. And I think his potential's still there. It's just kind of been held back by the players he's played around, and then also the injuries that he suffered. But so pretty much if Ingram's a part of the deal, I'm going Culver. Culver's a great off-ball shooter. I think that his defensive is a plus. His defensive abilities are a plus too. You're getting a natural 3-and-D player that seems like he has a fantastic work ethic. So I would love to see him next to Brandon Ingram, who's showing his ability to be a facilitator, next to Zion Williamson, who can create fast breaks and create opportunities for other people with offensive boards. If Zion's grabbing an offensive board, he's not going to always look to put that ball back up. He can dish it out and hit Jarrett Culver. And along with Drew Holiday as well, a guy who can move the ball. So I think it's dependent on who they get in that Laker deal. So if they're getting Ingram as the main piece, I would probably go Culver. If they're getting Kuzma and other pieces like Josh Hart and future picks, I don't know what the full deal is. I'm just trying to lay out some ways.
Let me ask you this.
If it's Kuzma, I'd go Garland.
Let's say they get Lonzo and Ingram. So let's say they have this.
Lonzo and Ingram?
Let's say they get this. So they've got Lonzo, Drew Holiday, Brandon Ingram, Zion, and then maybe Julius Randle. Who would you then take it for? Because to me, if you get Lonzo, then you can also lean towards Cam because he's better defensively. I would say better defensively than Brandon Ingram.
I hate that. Because if you're getting Zion, you're getting Lonzo, you're getting Ingram. Those are guys that, Ingram's not deadly from the outside. He has a good stroke, but he's not deadly from the outside. We already know Lonzo's inability to shoot from the outside. We know Zion's inability to have he doesn't have a clean stroke. He hit it at a decent rate, but he doesn't have a clean stroke. He needs to rehaul his jumper. So then you're looking at 3 guys already that cannot shoot in that starting lineup. And then you're just putting Cam Reddish in the same place that he was in Duke, where he underperformed, and yes, he has good metrics or a good shooting percentage for growth in the NBA, shooting like 35% from 3 on 7.5 attempts, but he was still a disappointment in that role. So I wouldn't want to put him back right into that role. And if that is what that trade is, I think you're stuck with going with either Garland and bringing him off the bench to bring in a deadly 3-point shooter and a guy who can score, because you might lack that with Lonzo. You might lack that in Ingram if he goes cold. Drew Holiday, he's been able to put up like 18 points a night. So, but that's also with Anthony Davis. So how would he be able to adjust to that? I think you could look DeAndre Hunter too, just to bring in more shooting. But then, would you go completely small and play Zion at the 5, and then Hunter at the 4, and then Ingram at the 3? Like, I think that trade handicaps him, because you have to play those guys that you trade for in the starting lineup.
Because they're most likely gonna, I think, pick the team up on Jahlil Okafor too. He's gonna be on the team as well.
Yeah, but he's not gonna start. I think they ended up at the end of the year. They liked what's his face more? Kid from Kansas, big guy. Blanking on his name. Begins with a C. Whatever.
Oh, Check Diallo?
Yeah, Check Diallo. They like Check Diallo more than Julio Okafor, it seemed like, at the end of the year. But big picture thing, I think that if a deal is made with the Pelicans, Lonzo needs to be going to a different team. And if Lonzo's going to a different team and you're getting Ingram as your piece, you go Garland. If you're getting Kuzma as your piece, then you're going Culver? What did I say?
You said Culver.
No, flip it. If Ingram, Culver, Kuzma, Garland.
Okay. Last two things I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Because when I'll be honest,
an hour-long segment. What the fuck?
Close. No, but I mean, the thing that I've been thinking is because we both know we're getting our mock ready for this Saturday. You had mentioned it in our text
I already got
group.
mine done.
Like this mock, you'll start to do it, and then you'll look at the clock and you'll be like, "Holy shit! It's been 3 hours. Where did my time go?" Or like, "Wow, I didn't notice I've been doing this mock for so long." So many thoughts have been going through my head. I got 2 last trades I'm going to throw out there, one of which is mine, one of which is not mine, and I want to get the kind of Sean Anderson thought process on this. I will start with mine first, although I've already vetted it through Jake, and we've agreed that, you know what, like, he said he didn't like it. I'm not that confident in it. It's a Clipper trade, and this is the best I could work with the Clippers, and I don't even think it happens because the third team probably isn't going to be giving up their pick for a guy. But it's a 3-team trade between the Clippers, the Pelicans, and the Suns. The Clippers get AD. Okay. The Suns get Lou Will. The Pelicans.
Okay, hold on. So the Clippers get AD. So I'm going to write this down so I don't forget it. So New Orleans.
The Clippers get
Clippers and the Suns.
Yeah. Right. So Clippers and Suns get one thing, and that's Clippers are getting AD. Suns get Lou Will.
Okay.
The Pelicans get Josh Jackson from the Suns, Danilo Gallinari from the Clippers, and then they get the 6th overall pick this year. They get 2 picks in 2020, the Philadelphia pick from the Clippers and the Milwaukee pick from the Suns, and then they get the 2021 Miami pick from the Clippers. If you're the Pelicans, do you push that button on that trade?
Okay. So, and then Lou Will is going to
the Suns.
So, Clippers get AD. Lou Will goes to the Suns, and the Suns get
the Pelicans.
The Pelicans get Josh Jackson, Danilo Gallinari, 2 firsts from the Suns, and 2 firsts from the Clippers.
Yeah, which would be 1 in 2019.
Why
2
are
in
the Suns doing that?
So the Suns are doing that to get that veteran guard that they want, that veteran point
and
guard.
And they're giving up
air quotes.
2 first-round picks and Josh Jackson.
The reason
that is extremely short-sighted when you could just take a point guard with the 6th pick. And the 6th pick has so much value, it's not worth Lou Williams. And especially a guy who can't play defense. If it was like Drew Holiday, then okay, yeah, maybe. But you're getting a guy who is, for what he is, a very great 6th man. But he's not a starter that is the guard you're looking for. He's a guy that dominates your second unit and puts up points for you when your starters are not out there. Not a guy that brings together DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. So I'd shoot that one down in a heartbeat.
Here's the other one. The Wizards, the Pelicans, and the Lakers.
All right, hold on. I got to restart the trade machine.
And this is from Forbes.com.
Pelicans, Wizards,
and Lakers. So the Lakers, it's easy. They get AD, and that's all they get.
Okay.
The Wizards get 3 players from the Lakers. They get Lonzo, they get Kuzma, and they get Josh Hart.
Okay. Josh Hart goes to the Wizards?
Lonzo, Kuzma, and Josh Hart are going to be Washington Wizards.
Damn. Okay.
The Pelicans get Brandon Ingram.
Okay.
The Lakers' 4th overall pick, and Bradley Beal.
And Forbes has this? And who the fuck is writing for Forbes?
I don't know. I'm looking at a picture that I sent Jake because I had to send it to Jake.
Why are the Wizards doing that?
So this is all dependent on if the Wizards decide to push the button and go more of a rebuild, then try to go and win now.
But how does that help their rebuild?
They get 3 young players. None of them. Lonzo Ball
you get Kuzma, who you're just
Josh Hart's not bad,
but he's more of a bench. He could be a starter, but you're replacing Beal. Look at it this way: Hart for Beal, right? Immediate downgrade. Kuzma, he can play your 4, which is an upgrade for what you have, and then you get Lonzo, who's just automatically going to be clashing with the guy you're paying, $154 million for the next 5 years.
If they push the button on a rebuild, though,
no
much
one's
of the future...
taking that John Wall deal.
I know that, but it's more of like
he's going to be a part of the future because you're paying him $154
million. We just deal with John Wall. I'm not saying for me
John Wall's not going to be easy to deal with.
For me, that's the biggest hiccup is John Wall's going to be on this team.
That's not happening.
With me, I think it's interesting for the Wizards to basically, are they going to push that button? And the whole thing with them that's even more tricky is haven't hired a new GM, and they've already said that the guy who's the interim is going to be doing their draft night stuff.
If the Wizards just came out and were like, all right, we're trading Bradley Beal for Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, and Josh Hart, it'd be a bad trade. Because, again, you're one of the guys that the biggest piece of that is Lonzo, and he's automatically clashing with your biggest star. And then you look at Kuzma. Kuzma's good, but I don't think Kuzma's like an all-star level player. He's a very good starter, but I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that dominates or is a star. Beal is. And then you look at Hart. Again, Hart can be a starter, but he hasn't been fully healthy. He hasn't really gotten in the right role. And if he goes to the right role, he possibly could be something. But I think that's a lot just for Bradley Beal. I think you can go out and actually get pieces to help your rebuild, like picks or like players that you can actually put towards your starting lineup. Like if I was the Wizards, I would want Ingram in that deal, and not
Kuzma?
Lonzo Ball.
Oh, not Lonzo.
Yeah, I don't see Lonzo going to Washington.
Last but not least, Anthony Davis getting traded on percentage he gets traded on draft night versus percentage he gets traded after July 1st. Or before or on draft night compared to after July 1st.
What do you mean? Like,
so
are we talking like the deal is done and the Lakers are picking for the Pelicans? Like that stuff?
Either or.
It just won't
for example, I think it's a 25% chance he gets traded between now and the draft. 75% chance he's getting traded after July 1st because of the Boston Celtics.
And the deal isn't announced. Like we're talking about like the deal. So from here to June 20th, 7 p.m., the deal won't be announced.
Yes. Yeah.
100% the deal will not be announced until after draft night. 100%.
So you think if the Lakers trade, it's going to be like the Lakers are taking Darius Garland. Oh, hint, it's going to
No, I think the Lakers will be taking Darius Garland. Okay. I think they'll be taking the player that they think either the Pelicans will want or the player that they think if they're not getting AD will help their team.
True.
I think they are picking for the Lakers, and that is a prospect that can be used in an Anthony Davis trade. But I don't think we will be at that point where we will have a deal by next Thursday.
Okay.
We're recording this on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think in 7 days we will not have a deal, whatever it is, or 8 days. I don't see that happening.
So I'm going to be a little bit on the other side. I think 25% chance it gets announced between now and next Thursday. However, 75% that it's going to be announced after July 1st, only because of the Boston Celtics. And if all Boston has to do is dangle Jason Tatum in front of the Pelicans long enough for him not to be traded before or on draft night. This is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below. Pretty lengthy topic, but I mean, that's usually what happens when you're talking about trades and talking about someone as big as Anthony Davis. But let us know what you guys think. Where do you want him to get traded? What package would you want to see? Does he get traded before draft night, on draft night, after July 1st? What's going through your guys' heads? Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section.